doing a demo today. As soon as I get my camera angle worked out here, we're going to do some painting. And I have some painting kits in my bin along with a few other items. If you're interested in anything in the bin, let me know and I could run it. But first, we're going to start out by just doing some painting here. Hey, Carol, how you doing? I hope you enjoyed your order, and thank you for joining me again. I really appreciate it. All right, so I'm so glad to hear that you loved your order. I'm going to start out with this little image right here that I stamped previously. And it has been probably about a month since I have painted anything. So we're going to see if I remember what all my colors are here, my palette. See if I could still do this or if I've forgotten in the past month how to paint something. And again, I do have some items in my bin. If you have any questions about the stuff in my bin, I'm happy to stop and show you things. I figure we'll start out with a demo here. I have some cards to show off later. I have a couple junk journal kits that are in my bin that I could show off. And honestly, hoping to sell some cards tonight. I'd really like to thin out my pile of cards that I've made lately. But we're just gonna go ahead and get started. And I think I am actually gonna turn some music on. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to hear the music because it's gonna be in the background for me, but it just helps a little break up the silence. And I'm using my paint palette here. Again, it has been about a month since I've painted anything, so this should be very interesting. If you like my little paintbrush holder, I have Chromie and I have other characters in my bin. You could buy it now if you want to. Just be one moment here. I'm just turning some music on in the background. But I think the sun is trying to make sure I keep this on screen. This size I think is like perfect. Hey Tana, how you doing? I think the size is perfect for paintbrushes because she is so tall and they stand up so straight. I just love it. All right, almost there. Just one more minute here. I need to make sure it's not too loud. That's a little loud now. So I am a very firm believer in there is no wrong way to do art. Hi, Marcy. Welcome in. I think any way you want to do something when it comes to creating is the right way. The only thing I would caution against would be eating the paint. Typically, you do not want to eat the paint, but anything else you want to do with the paint, I say have fun, enjoy it. Don't get hung up on other people saying there's rules. I mean, just do what feels good for you. And what feels good for me today is this magnolia. And I know magnolias are supposed to be pink and like orange and such, but I think we're gonna go purple. I feel purple today. And I do have 2 kits in my bin that include pre-stamped images like this, a set of very, very cheap paints, and some water brushes. So if you want to try this yourself, there are 2 kits in the bin where you could try this yourself. I am doing the demo right now. I'm starting out with watercolor today. So what I did was first, I put some water down in my leaf. And I'm just putting just a slight little bit of paint on there and spreading it around a little. Trying to get more concentrated up here near the top. And then fade it out a little more as it gets further down the petal. And usually that ends up with a really, really pretty result. And then we're gonna repeat that. So this is wet, so I don't want to wet anything next to it because that'll make the paint move. As long as you don't wet the areas next to it, your paint will stay right where you put it. So I'm going to work over here for my next petal. And this is just water, taking the water in. And then I'm just getting this petal nice and wet where I want the paint to be. it's nice and wet. And then trying to remember which purple I used on the other one. Just drop some of that purple in. And really, this is so easy. Don't be intimidated by watercolor. This is, I think this is actually easier than trying to use Copic markers or alcohol markers. Because as you can tell, I just, little itty bitty bit of color. The color will stay right where you put the water. And then you could just add more and more layers to get to look the way you want to. So I just added a bit more purple here. I'm just trying to, make it a little darker. And the one thing I did forget to grab was a towel. I'll grab a towel here. So this came out a little dark. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of this water. I'm just pushing some of my paint up a little and drying it off. Just dry it right off the brush. Yeah, I love watercolor. It's so much fun. And like I said, I find this to be easier than using markers. I know like people act like watercolor is so hard, it's so difficult to master, but if you're just having fun with it and you're just trying to create something that's pretty to you, I think it can be very easy and very relaxing. Now I'm going back over to this one that I started, just adding a little more water here. There we go. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to wipe my brush off a little and just a little lighter near the bottom. And that will dry so, so pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to leave those two spots alone. And I'm going to come over here and I'm hoping I'm still on camera. And then I'm going to just put water right on the next leaf I want to color. And really that's all there is to it. Just work in sections. Get the area you want your color to go down in wet, and then just add a little bit of color. And then bam, you're painting. Now this is a pre-stamped image. It is an Altenew stamp. I stamped it on watercolor paper. You do want to make sure you let your ink dry when you do that. And you want to make sure you use an ink that's not water soluble, because like if you use like a Tim Holtz distressed ink to do this, once you get that wet, your ink to outline would go away. Unless you want to do it like that. You could do it like that with an ink that's water soluble if you want your lines to disappear. I've tried that. Hi Kristen, welcome in. I've tried doing it with the water soluble paint or the ink where I stamp it and then it starts to disappear as you're painting. But I will tell you that got really confusing for me really fast. So I like to leave my stamped outline now. And this is just VersaFine Nocturne. Let it dry and it comes out perfect. I'm just going back in, getting a little more purple. Trying to move the paints over so you guys can see. I don't think I'm going to be... Can you see the paints? See how messy that is? When your paint palette's messy, it means you're having fun with it. Again, so I just picked up a little more color, dropping it near the top and just letting it flow down. Okay, I think I just saw a purchase, but I'm not sure what you purchased. Would you like me to stop right now and go over your purchase, or do you want me to continue with the demo? And thank you very much for that purchase. There we go. So again, I'm going to move my water over. This is really dangerous. I had my iPad right off to the side here, and now we've got the water right next to the iPad. We're living dangerously tonight. So now I'm going to go up this way again. And I'm trying to stay away from areas that I already have wet, but there is a way to cheat here, and I'm going to show you. If you are impatient like me, with watercolor, you have a choice. You can either wait for it to dry, or you can make it dry. Guess what I've got in my hand? We're going to make this dry so we can keep working. Now, I'm hoping the heat gun's not too loud on the video. This Ranger heat gun, this is much better than your embossing. Oh, you got birthday cake? Okay. Yeah, that's a fun set. That it's a Concord and Ninth set. I think it was one of their summer retreats. But oh geez, I just lost my train of thought. So with the heat gun, you could use an embossing gun to do this to dry it, but that might push your water around too much. This Ranger Heat It tool is perfect for this because it gets the stuff dry, but it does not push your water around. And let's see, can you guys see? Oh, we've got our delicate purple petals already. It is literally that easy to watercolor. Anyone can do this. Don't be afraid to try. All right, so let's pick up on another leaf here. I think I'm trying to move it so I'm on camera a little better here. Do this. I've got a really huge heated wrap on right now. I don't know if you guys can see this, but like I had to buy this from Amazon because I had one, but I couldn't find the cord to plug it in, so I had to buy a new one. And here in Florida, I will probably get to use this like maybe 3 times a year, but this week I have really, really needed it. I have been so cold. What ink did I use to stamp it? I used VersaFine Clear Nocturne. This is what I used. You could get this at like Simon Says Stamp. You could get scrapbook.com. I like the Nocturne. Just make sure you let it dry all the way. So like I stamped this a couple months ago, to be honest. I had it in a bag, just waiting to be used. Make sure you let it dry. Or the other thing you could do with the VersaFine Clear, you could put embossing powder on and you could heat emboss it, and then it actually helps you stay in the lines a little more. All right, so let's keep going. Let's go back over here because we dried that piece. Now I could get the petal next to it wet. And my paint won't go anywhere because it will stay right where I put the water. Let's see if I remember which purple I used over here. I think I might have just picked up the wrong purple. We'll see in a second here. No, I think we're good. So again, I'm trying to keep it up near the top. I'll let it run down a little. You can see the paint just moves with the water. It's actually really relaxing. I love watching the paint move around. Like it's really, really soothing to me. So there we go. So we'll let that one dry a little. Trying to move stuff around so you guys can really see what I'm doing. So now I'm cleaning my brush off. And you'll notice in my water pot here, I probably have way too much water, but I'm like too lazy to get up and get more. So I got a little extra water. Now we're going to do this again. We're just going to get our petal nice and wet here. Put that water everywhere I'm going to want my paint to go. And then I just go, trying to show you guys. I go over here to the paint palette, just pick up a little more purple. And my iPad almost fell over. That would have been funny. I'm just going to bring it down a little. Now this time, see how it's not spreading as much? I'm just going to dip my brush in, pick up a little more water. And there we go. Now I got it nice and flowy. This is the look I want. This is the look I love. I like that soft, dreamy watercolor look. And again, I find this so relaxing. I could do this all night. I actually have done this all night before. Another thing I like to do when we go on cruises, I will go ahead and I will stamp myself a bunch of pages like this. And I will bring my watercolors with me on the cruise. And during sea days, watercolor is how I stay out of the casino. It could be like one of those clickbait articles, 10 secrets Carnival doesn't want you to know. There are ways to avoid the casino on their ships. And this helps me avoid the casino. And just dabbing that in, bringing the purple in. I got a little bit too much paint on that one, but it'll be okay. You can see my pigment right there. Well, actually, I don't know if you guys can see that, but I could see the pigment. So I'm going to dry my brush off a little, pick up a little water, make this just a little softer. And what I do with these images, I usually make cards out of these, but you could use these in your junk journals. You could use it collages. Um, I have also taken my images, I have stamped a sentiment on it and made it into like a little canvas almost where you could frame it. It's just another way to use your stamps in your craft supplies. Make little decor pieces out of them. All right. So now I'm going to go, let's see, do I have a spot I could go on? We could do this petal up here because it's not touching anything else that's wet right now. So we're going to do this petal up here. And then we'll use our little trick to dry this off so we can keep working. So again, everywhere I want color, I put water. And I'm going to get my brush wet. And I'm going to dip it to my paint. And then just lightly touch it there. And you can see the water, the paint just starts flowing in the water. I just find that so relaxing. You know how people joke about watching paint dry? I think I could totally watch paint dry. I mean, I like watching the paint move around on the paper. Can't be much worse just to watch it dry, right? And the watercolor paint does cool stuff as it dries too. You'll notice that it lightens up a bit. So what I'm going to do, I have 2 kits like this in my bin. I'm going to go ahead and pin the larger one here, just in case anybody wants to try this on their own. The kits that I have include 6 different images. They're pre-stamped, ready to watercolor, a very cheap little watercolor palette with paint in it, and 3 water brushes. So I have 2 kits like that. So now I'm looking at this, and everywhere I want to go next has water next to it. So we're going to use our little trick, and we are going to dry this real quick. Again, really hope this isn't horrifically loud. I think this, the Heat It tool, the Ranger one, I think it is actually a lot quieter than your normal embossing heat tool. So again, just lightly drying this. I'm trying to move it around a little just so that I don't damage the board underneath, because I'm using really cheap clipboards for this. And I like to do that because I like to work on multiple projects at once. And if I tape it down like this to a clipboard, I could set it aside somewhere else in my craft room and come back to it later. And now you can see as that dries, the tape's buckling a little. That's why it's taped down, because the paper will move around with the water and such. Almost done there. Here we go. So now let's see if you guys could see how pretty this petal came out. You see how we have the different granulation there and the different depth to the petals. And as you saw, super easy to do. Seriously, anybody could do this. If you have even just like a cheap set of Crayola paints, you could do this with your cheap kids' paints even. It's just a matter of using watercolor paper and adding the water. So next, let's do this petal right here. Again, just putting water wherever I'm going to want that paint to go. And go over here into my paint palette, move that a little closer so maybe you guys could see it. Just drop the paint down. And that's a little darker than I would like. So taking my brush. I don't know if you guys could see this is my towel. I use this towel for everything. Can you tell? It's very pretty. It's got a lot of colors on it. Now I feel like I took away too much color. As long as you do this while it's wet, you could definitely change the color. You could take it away like I just did. You could add more and it will be perfectly fine. Once it dries, it's a little harder to manipulate the paint that's already down. So again, just moving that paint around with my paintbrush. And as you can tell, it just stays right where I put that water. So you really don't even need to heat emboss your image to do this. It'll stay right within the lines as long as you keep your water within the lines. All right, so let's turn this again. Let's go back to this one. I'm just putting the water down where I want it. Trying to avoid this little branch here. And make it so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got, I'll try to actually hold this up to the camera so maybe you guys could see. So the water, I don't know if you guys could see that, but the water is only on that one leaf where I'm going to be putting my color. And the paint will stay right in that water. So that just flows right around with the water. And we're going to have this beautiful image that looks like we tried really hard to color blend it. It's going to look like we tried really hard to be a master of light and shading, but no. All we did was put some paint in the water and push it around a little. It is really quite that simple. So we've got that leaf done. I think we could do a leaf down here before we dry it again. So let's see, let's do this leaf over here. Putting the water where I want my paint to go. Nice and wet, grabbing some purple. Trying to make sure I grab the right color purple. I'm trying to make this one a little darker because it looks like it's a little folded. So it will make your image look more interesting if you do different lights and darks. It just gives things more depth, and it's really not that hard. All you have to do is like just have a little heavier hand, and that will give you like that natural shading. Just a little more there. Got too much pigment on my brush right now. I'm gonna try to get some of that paint off. There we go. That one's nice and dark now. I think I'm going to do the same thing down here. Let's make this one nice and dark. Hoping I'm still on screen here. See how that looks really different, but it's the same paint. It's just more concentrated, less water. There we go. Actually, I think we could do this top one too. Let's do this top one up here too. So another nice thing about taping your watercolor paper down to the clipboard, you see how I just rotated it around? If you tape it down to your desk, it's a little hard to do that. I just use, this is a really cheap clipboard. I bought a multi-pack off of Amazon. So if I do damage it with water, if I do damage it with my heat gun, I won't be like heartbroken because it is a very, very cheap clipboard. I'm gonna go down here and make this one a little darker too. I didn't add very much water here because I do want it to be a little darker. There we go. Okay. So now I think we could do another leaf up here where it's not touching anything that's wet. And the entire process here is just basically repeating those steps. Get a little area wet, add a little paint to it, get the color to where you like it, and then either let it dry or make it dry. That one I've got a little too much pigment on. So I find this to be very, very relaxing. I like to listen to audiobooks while I do this. And it's kind of funny because then later, I'll listen to an audiobook while I paint something. And sometimes it'll be even on a cruise ship, I'll have my earbuds in, I'll be listening to my audiobook while I paint it. And then later I go to make a card out of that image I painted, and I can usually remember which book I was listening to when I painted that image. And then later on when I look at the finished card makes me think of the audiobook too. A little bit much on this one, but it'll be okay. Here we go. Again, I could take a little bit of that away if I want, just wipe the paint off, get my paintbrush kind of wet, not too wet. We could just soften that down a little. Look at that. Happy little flower, right? Now I think I could go down here. I don't think there's anything wet next to this one. And there we go, just dropping a little bit of color in. Now I know this probably isn't the most exciting demo to watch, but I did want to start out with this because I know lots of people think painting is very hard, but it's not. And I think if you just try it, you might really enjoy it. And personally, I do find this a lot easier than markers. And it's a lot more portable than markers too. Like before I really started painting, I tried dragging like markers on the cruise ship with me. Oh my God, that was a mistake. Because you had to take so many markers with you. And then the whole time I was worried like I would drop one, I'd lose one. And taking the paint's much more portable. All right, so we're gonna use our little trick and make this dry again. It just takes a couple seconds here to dry. You'll notice as it dries, it does lighten up a bit. It dries back where your color is not as powerful. And if you really wanted to like make a masterpiece, you could do layers of your color and darken different spots with each layer. Because I'm probably just going to use this on a card, I'm not going to put that many layers on it. I just don't want to invest that much time in something that, it's going to be a card. And once I give it away, it's, when I give them away, the person I give it to, they can do whatever they wish to it. I don't expect people to like frame it or anything. All right. The heat tool made me warm enough where I could take my little blanket off. All right, so here we go. We've got just a few petals left here. Let's start with this petal up here. Get it nice and wet. Again, I'm putting the water right where I want my paint to go. I'm gonna go in, grab my purple paint. Just drop it in right, just like that. Probably go a little darker on this petal because the one over there is a little dark. And then I'll show you. So this one dried off. Now you saw how easy it was to move the paint before it dried. After it dries, it's not quite so easy, but see how I was able to lighten it just a little bit? So you could re-wet it and you could get some of the paint off, but that's going to depend on your paint. Some paints are more staining. I think some of the cheaper paints tend to be more staining than more expensive paints, so it might not work as well with cheaper paints, but it's worth a try. If you paint something and you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, I think that looks terrible, it's too dark, you could try to lift some of the water, the paint off just like that. So I'm just lighten that up just a little bit. And again, this is going on a card. I'm not creating something that I expect to like hang in a museum. So we're not going to get hung up on little details like that. Just like we're not going to get too hung up on where I go outside the lines. It's going to be a card, not a Van Gogh, you know? I don't think Van Gogh was watercolor. I don't know what he painted with. I'm not a fancy art person. I don't know all the answers there. Again, just dabbing in like that. We'll finish up these petals. And then we can always move on to someone else or something else. If you guys would like to see a stamp wheel demo, I'm happy to do a stamp wheel demo. If you guys want me to start putting stuff up on the screen to sell, I could do that. I'm just adding a little more color to this top leaf here. Petal. I am not a botanist. I don't know all the anatomically correct terms for the flower. All I know is it's very pretty. And I think I might have created a new species of Magnolia here. I don't know if Magnolias come in purple, but this one does. All right, so we're almost done. So we get that wet area right there. We're going to make this dry one more time. One more quick drying session. So I'm going to take the heat tool out. Just dry it very gently. And it dries up very, very nicely. And I think you guys could see how that paint granulates as it dries. It's just so beautiful. And this purple is just gorgeous. This is a Daniel Smith color. The ones in my little kits are not quite so expensive. Otherwise, the kit would have to cost like $200. But they're still fun to experiment with. So again, just getting this petal wet where I want my color to go. Nice and wet. And then I'm going to, a little bit of paint on here, just drop that in. I don't like how dark that one's getting, so there we go. I think we've got almost all our petals done now. But I do think we are going to do just a little bit of layering of the color up here. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to put a little more water down right on top of where I painted that petal earlier. And we're just going to drop a little more purple. If we are feeling like really, really adventurous, we could go another color purple. But I'm not feeling that adventurous today. So again, that's going to look so very pretty as it dries. And then I'm going to do the same thing, just add another little coat down here. This really light petal. Get it nice and wet right where I want my paint to go. Dip my paintbrush in the purple and watch it spread. There we go. And with watercolor, you do want to try to leave white space. That's something like I really struggle with. I have a really hard time leaving the white space. I don't know. I just like start, I don't know. You know, when you're little, they tell you to color and you're supposed to fill in the entire space, right? So it's like kind of counterintuitive to try to learn how to not color everything in. And it looks a lot better when you don't color everything in. There we go. All right. So we've got most of our color down. We're going to go back over here, just add a little more here. Getting a little more purple. That's too much purple. Uh-oh. Let's get rid of some of that purple we just added. Push it up here a little. I can push it over here. Because I don't want it all on that leaf. That petal. I'm sorry, it's a flower. It has petals, right? Well, flowers have leaves too. Or does the stem have leaves? I don't know. All right, so I think we're going to leave that part alone now. And I'm going to leave these little bud things alone. We're going to come back with metallic paints on those. We're going to try to do our stems now. So these branches right here, we're going to try to do those in a brown. Actually, I don't think we're going to do all out brown in them. Let me get a piece. I had some scratch paper over here, but I don't know where I put my scratch paper. Here we go. Let's see. I think that's a Quinn Gold. I don't have I have a swatch book that tells me what's in here. As you could tell, I didn't take the time to grab it. That's kind of a reddish. Let's try down here. Let's see what this guy looks like. A reddish brown. Does it look good next to purple? Let's try one more time. Let's see. Oh, no, I don't like that one. That's a no from me, dog. I think so far the one I like the most for the stem is this one. Yeah, I think that looked good next to our purple. So the stem, just like the petals, I'm just going to get areas wet that I want the paint to go in. And I did switch to a smaller paintbrush here. Just trying to get a little bit of water in. This part does get a little harder because the areas are so small, but it'll be okay, I promise. Okay, I think we got enough water there. Let's see if I remember which color I liked. I sprayed my paints with water before I started, but it's been so long my paint's dried up just a little. So I'd add a little more water to it to activate it. Trying to do a light hand here. And I'm not being too careful with this because I know when I die cut this to make my card, this stem here is not going to matter that much because I will probably end up cutting a good portion of it off. So again, I'm not going to let perfect get in the way of done here. I'm going to finish this and move on to something else. I'm not going to agonize over little details. It's paint, it's not Polaroid. It's not going to be completely perfect. Just need a little more water on the stem. Hoping I'm going back to the same brown. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the same brown. And it's a little dark here, so I'm trying to spread that around a little. All right. So done with this. I'm not going to spend too much time on the branch. Like I said before, probably cut most of it off to make it fit on a card, so it doesn't really matter anyways. Just trying to, give it that idea of having color. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to go in and we're going to finish these little tips off with some metallic paint. I'm just drying this real quick. And that is dry enough to work around. And I'm just going to add my metallics in. So after I finish this, I am going to move the paints aside. And I think I'm going to put some cards together. I have some card fronts that I need to put on card bases. Let's move a little bit of that paint over here. And we are just about done with this one. So it took about 45 minutes while on camera to do this. That was with me being careful and trying to make sure I caught everything on camera too. Not bad. I think it looks really pretty. I like it. That's what matters. All right, so I'm going to move this stuff aside. We're going to let this dry for a minute. And then we're going to do something different. So there is our painting that we just did. Just putting all the paint away right now. Move this stuff off to the side. And then we can do something more exciting. We're going to switch gears here shortly. And we're going to construct some cards and get them ready to go to new homes. Alrighty. Finish drying this off. Almost grabbed the wrong heat gun there. That would have been dangerous. Then I am going to run a few flash sales here too. So let's tape this back down until it dries. So it's not all misshapen like this. There we go. Tape that back down. All right. Let's get some cards on screen. This is what we're going to do next. We're going to get these ready to go to new homes. Actually got a whole thing of cards here that we're going to take care of. So let's do this. Let's do a couple flash sales. Oh, you know that it's not staying as long as I wanted it to. Let's go back. Just trying to start these sales. All right, gonna start a couple more flash sales here. And then we're gonna start these cards. Okay, so next up we are going to start these cards. This one is not ready to go anywhere yet. This one needs to be glued better. All righty. We're going to construct these and we're going to sell them. So this will be our first one right here. I'm going to take that and we're going to tape it down to a card base. And we're going to put it in an envelope. And then we're going to put it in a baggie. So if you're interested in this card shown on screen right now, go ahead and bid. It can be yours. This is a birthday card. This is a turnabout stamp from Concord and Ninth. And we need a tape runner here. I don't know where I put my big tape runner. All right, here we go. So again, the auction will be for this card when it is completed. And if I get the tape on the right spot, that's always helpful. Here we go. There is our first constructed card. I'm going to pause this for 1 second. Let's see, do I know how to pause this?